Okay, so we are entering into a very important part of the Fragmented Soul series. And this part is in reference to lie-based beliefs. And this is session 16, and it's 3 parts, and we'll only look at part 1 today. And the link will be in the description section below for everyone else. I hope you have your iPad and access to your Bible app, or if you have your Bible, I hope you go ahead and open it. I'm going to kind of lead us through Romans chapter 1 first before we look at the teaching by Pastor Bob Strachan. And this week, I believe it was on the 11th of August, that the daily devotional took us into Romans 1. And of course, if you've ever seen the book of Romans done by Matthew with Torah to the tribes, it really does open up our world very much. And in the book of Romans, I began sharing that the book of Romans was written by Paul from Corinth. And we should read his words as if we just received this letter ourselves, because he's speaking to us, is he not? And let his words speak to our hearts. So Paul was writing to believers in Rome. We must also remember that Paul identified himself as a Roman. He was born of Jewish parents, but he had the rights of a Roman citizen. He was schooled under Gamaliel, the best of the best, was he not? And he was incorporated into the sect of the Pharisees. Now, at first, Paul was a zealous opponent of the way. Yet, upon conversion, Paul became a zealous defender and promoter of the way. So, at the beginning, he was functioning under some lie-based beliefs. And so in Romans 1, verse 1, it begins, Shaul, a servant of Yahushua HaMashiach, a called emissary, he was called, we are called, separated to the good news of Elohim, which he promised before through his prophets in the set-apart scriptures concerning his son, who came of the seed of David according to the flesh, who was designated son of Elohim with power according to the set-apart spirit, by the resurrection from the dead, Yahushua Messiah, the master of us all, through whom we, Paul writes, through whom we have received favor and office of the emissary for belief obedience among all the nations on behalf of his name. Let's read that again. Romans chapter 1, verse 5. Through whom we have received favor and office of the emissary for belief obedience. Belief obedience among all the nations on behalf of his name, among whom you also are the called ones of Yahushua HaMashiach. That just jumped off the page to me during that devotional. So they had received favor, and they had received the office of the emissary for belief obedience. Therefore, should we not perform due diligence in evaluating our beliefs? Should we not truly evaluate our beliefs in comparison to his word, and not just because so-and-so told us this, that, or the other? I mean, it's easy for us to look at faults in others, but have we really looked at those things within our soul? Because our beliefs steer our focus, and our lives go in the direction of what we are focused on and what we believe to be truth. I mean, at first, wasn't that what Paul was doing? he was very zealous of what he believed to be truth, but it wasn't. I mean, he was raised and trained under Gamaliel. Both of his parents were Jewish. He was raised in a believing household. And he was incorporated into the sect of the Pharisees. And he was zealous. Oh, yeah, you can be zealous for what you believe in. I mean, there are missionaries all over the world being zealous for what they believe in. Or are they preaching another gospel, or are they preaching the true covenant confirming gospel of Yahushua Mashiach? That's the question. That's the question. There are so many people in religions celebrating all these man-made holidays and that are being promoted from the pulpit. I mean, lie-based beliefs are being promoted from the pulpit. So we can see there's a lot of inner reflection that is needed. And this topic of lie-based beliefs, it's off the chart. I mean, we really need to get a hold to this. We really need to get a hold to lie-based beliefs. We don't need just to believe that because we understand how to rightly divide his word of truth, that's good enough. We don't need to believe that just because we understand that we are his kingdom of priests after the order of Melchizedek, that's enough. We have to do and obey his covenant commands. We have to carry out our duties as his kingdom of priests. We have to enter the holy place and commune with him in the Holy of Holies, just like they did, like Moses and Aaron did in the days of the wilderness tabernacle. Because we've all been through the series, most of us have been through the series, right, of the one new man, right? We know we're a tripartite being, do we not? Spirit, soul, and body, right? We know that's been compared to the wilderness tabernacle, do we not? The Holy of Holies, the Spirit, the holy place where the priests enter in to do intercession is correlated to the soul, and the outer court, the body. So how much time are we all spending in the soul realm? Huh? How much time? Is he our source as we walk through each day, throughout the day? Or is he just our daily devotional morning supplement that we take like a vitamin, and then we go ahead and live our day and do our daily routine and do our daily chores and think that's enough? I mean, having us go through this Fragmented Soul series, it has opened our eyes. And if it hasn't yet opened some of our eyes, I hope all of this will start to come together for all of us, because this is really, really powerful. So our beliefs steer our focus, and our lives go in the direction of what we are focused on and what we believe is truth. And we see that example with Paul. He was very zealous, and he was an opponent of the real truth. Yet, when his eyes were opened and he went into Arabia and relearned all that he thought he knew, and the scales fell off of his eyes, then he knew the truth. Then he promoted the truth very zealously as well. So if our beliefs are left unchecked, we may be moving away from Yahweh, because one's loins are girded with truth if you're following Yahweh. But if you're not following Yahweh, one's loins are not girded with truth, but with lie-based beliefs. People believe their loins are girded with truth, but are they really? Have they compared their beliefs to his word? Because that's the only measuring line we can go by. So this will determine where we presently exist on a continuum that stretches from life and life more abundantly to a life of lie-based beliefs and destruction. And we really need to get started on the right foot here with his truth and not go out and promote lie-based beliefs unknowingly. Because your heart may have a desire to share the gospel message, but what gospel are you sharing? What gospel are you sharing? I mean, if you don't have the truth of his word, if you don't have an understanding of how to rightly divide his word of truth, if you're not functioning under the new covenant confirming gospel message and know who you are as his kingdom of priests after the order of Melchizedek, what gospel are you promoting? Some are locked under the book of the law. Some do not know the difference between the book of the law and the book of the covenant, because there have been many pastors promoting lie-based beliefs, and those lie-based beliefs have been received. But Yahweh sees and knows what's going on. He can turn that around. He turned it around for us, did he not? He turned it around for us. But in Romans 1:7, we go on to read, "To all who are in Rome, beloved of Elohim, called, set apart ones, favor to you and peace from Elohim our Father and the Master, Yahushua HaMashiach." Verse 8, "First, I truly thank my Elohim through Yahushua Messiah for you all, that your belief is spoken of in all the world." Wow. Wow. All right. "First, I truly thank my Elohim through Yahushua Messiah for you all, that your belief is spoken of in all the world." As the set apart ones, his called ones, is our belief spoken of in all the world? Or can the world even see the difference between our beliefs and the beliefs of the world? It is our faith, our belief in Yahushua HaMashiach, functioning under his covenant confirming gospel message, that brings forth power. Like the emissaries, we must have belief obedience. Obedience is better than sacrifice. We must have belief obedience. Satan only has power over the ones functioning under his lie-based beliefs, for he is the father of lies. He is the one that comes as an angel of light. He is the one surrounded by emotions, lights, sounds, charismatic leaders that speak partial biblical truths, that can even perform deliverance, can they not? But they have a blended doctrine. You have to listen very carefully. But they have a blended doctrine mixed with lies and truths. But when the lie is removed, so is the power of Satan over you. It is Yahushua's truth that sets the captives free. It is the truth that we gird our loins with, his truth. And that is our first piece of armor. We read in Matthew chapter 7, if you want to turn to Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. This is Yahushua speaking. He said, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Master, Master,' shall enter into the reign of the heavens, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens." How do we know what his desire is? His desire is that we walk in his covenant commands, is it not? His desire is for us to know how to rightly divide his word of truth. His desire is to take that truth and make disciples according to his truth, not man-made truths. Verse 22 of Matthew 7, "Many shall say to me in that day, 'Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done mighty works in your name?' And then I shall declare to them, 'I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness.'" So why did Yahushua say, "Depart from me"? Because they were workers of lawlessness. They did what was right in their own eyes. They added their own beliefs, lie-based beliefs, into his doctrine. They condemned others for the very same things they were doing. Yahushua was born under the book of the law, but he was actively shifting the Melchizedek priesthood back to its reigning position, because the Melchizedek priesthood predated the Aaronic Levitical priesthood. Newsflash, this shift back to the book of the covenant, inclusive of the 10 commandments, not the modified 10 commandments, but this shift back to the book of the covenant, inclusive of the 10 commandments and royal Torah, was the very covenant confirming gospel message that Paul was called to take to the then known world. Paul was dispersing truth and dispelling lies. And those in their comfort, in their Judaic religion, didn't like this. He was starting to mess with their position. He was starting to mess with their comfort zone, and he was starting to mess with their Judaic religion. Why? Why were they so repelled by this? Because the lie was their power. Paul, Peter, and the other emissaries were removing lie-based beliefs, and the world hated them, just as the world hated Yahusha. Because remember, if you remove the lie, you remove the power being dictated over you. Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. But beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly is where it counts, people. Inwardly, they are savage wolves, but they're going to come at us as sheep, disguised. The whole world's a stage. Yahusha's saying, but beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. It doesn't matter how many people are in their mega churches. If it's blended doctrine, it's blended doctrine. If it has lie-based beliefs in it, it's corrupted. You're feeding on genetically modified word of Yahweh. It's not right. Matthew chapter 13, verse 41, the son of Adam shall send out his messengers, and they shall gather out of his reign all the stumbling blocks and those doing lawlessness, and shall throw them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Verse 43 of Matthew 13, then the righteous shall shine forth as the sun in the reign of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And you only have ears to hear if you've been born again, born anew. And Yahushua HaMashiach has washed you and has anointed you. He told Peter, unless I wash you, you cannot enter into my kingdom. It is he that gives us eyes to see and ears to hear. Romans 1 verse 9, for Elohim is my witness, Paul goes on to say, whom I serve with my spirit in the good news of his Son, how unceasingly I make mention of you, always asking in my prayers. And when he's asking in prayers to Yahweh, this is his time. He's communing as his emissary, as knowing who he is, as being part of his kingdom of priests, always asking in my prayers. Where is Paul at right now asking in his prayers? He's asking Elohim in his prayers in his inner temple, in the holy place. And what's the holy place? His soul. His soul is communing and speaking to Yahweh in spirit through his prayers. Always asking in my prayers, if at all possible, I shall be blessed by the desire of Elohim to come to you. He's making his petitions before Elohim. For I long to see you, so as to impart some spiritual gift to you, for you to be established. And that is to be encouraged together among you, each by their other's belief, both yours and mine. And we should be, if we have the true gospel confirming gospel message. Then we are encouraging one another by our beliefs in his covenant gospel message. And when people are born anew, and when people are given eyes that see and ears that hear, then Yahweh can use them. Then they do develop their spiritual gifts. Then they do thrive. It is our belief in Yahusha that ignites the fire of Israel. And we know Israel are we that have been born anew, born from above. That is Israel. That is the true spiritual Israel, not the country in the Middle East. Israel are those that have been born anew, and those that have come into his kingdom of priests. So it is our belief in Yahusha that ignites the fire of Israel and the flame of Joseph that we've looked at before in Obadiah. It is when our inner soul communes with Yahweh in spirit. See, when we commune with Yahweh in spirit, that's taking place inwardly. Just like Paul was communing with Yahweh, that's what we do. We get into our soul communing. We get into the holy place of our temple and commune with Yahweh. But you first have to be washed by the blood of the Lamb before you can even commune with Yahweh. That's when our intercessions before Yahweh rise up before him. You know, as we begin most of our prayers, enter his gates with thanksgiving, enter his courts with praise. I mean, spiritually, we are moving into the holy place in order to commune with Yahweh in the Holy of Holies. We give him our petitions, and they're spoken right before his presence. And that is when he is moved. That is when he listens. He acts not only to heal our brokenheartedness and fragmentation, but to heal others that we bring before him according to his perfect will. Just like the friends of the paralytic that lowered their friend through the roof to his presence. That's what we're doing. We are bringing those that have asked for prayer requests or those that have given praise reports, and they're coming up before his throne room, because that's the duty of a priest. And if you don't even understand that you are a priest, nor do you understand the duties of being a priest, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to know who we are and to know how to function, and also to stay within our boundaries, stay within our gifts, and understand that we are the one new man functioning together. None of us can do everything. That's why we're all working together, like a human body works together and functions together. Not one part of us is exalted except Yahusha as the head. He's exalted. He's the one that receives our praise. So he acts not only to heal our brokenheartedness and fragmentation, but to heal others that we bring before him according to his perfect will. Not only that, but we must understand the power behind, what's that phrase? Belief, obedience, spoken of in Romans chapter 1, verse 5. You see, our great physician, he heals us from the inside out. Whereas worldly physicians, and we appreciate physicians, some are not in it for the right reason, like any profession, but we do appreciate those in that profession for the right reasons. But we know that our great physician, think about this, our great physician heals us from the inside out, whereas worldly physicians can only heal from the outside in. In Exodus chapter 15, verse 26, and he said, This is Yahweh speaking. And he said, if you diligently obey. Oh, that kind of sounds like belief obedience, does it not? Yeah. If you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commands, and shall guard all his laws. For us today, that's covenant commands. Not that we leave any part of his word out. We do not. We still glean, we still learn, we still grasp insights from the part of the Bible that displays the book of the law. But for us today, Yahusha ushered in the book of the covenant and ushered the Melchizedek priesthood back to its reigning position. He is our high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Excuse me, Psalm 110, 4 and 5. It's all there in his word. Let's just start on verse 26 again. I went all over the place. And he said, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, 1, do that. And do what is right in his eyes. That's number 2. And 3, shall listen to his commands. And 4thly, shall guard all his laws. I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Mitzrites, the Egyptians, for I am Yahweh who heals you. All of that is coming from belief obedience from our soul. And our soul is our mind, will, and emotions, right? So if we diligently obey the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, so we hear his voice, and we choose to do what is right in his eyes, and we listen to his commands, and we guard all of his laws, which we understand through our mind, will, and emotions, and we do the will of the Father. We have the mind of Yahusha, and our emotions carry out the fruit of the Spirit. There you go. He says, I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am Yahweh who heals you. He is the great physician. Verse 13, and I do not wish you to be unaware, brothers, that I often purposed to come to you, but was hindered until now, in order to have some fruit among you, as also among the other nations. I am a debtor both to Greeks and to foreigners, both to wise and to foolish. That is why I am so eager to bring the good news also to you who are in Rome. It's the good news. The good news. That's what Yahusha came for. That was one of the first things he did when he stood up in the synagogue and read from Isaiah 61. You know, he was appointed to bring the good news. Hello. And what was the next thing he said? To heal the brokenhearted. Hello. Verse 16, for I am not ashamed of the good news of Messiah, for it is the power of Elohim for deliverance to everyone who believes, to the Yehudi first, and also to the Greek. For in it, the righteousness of Elohim is revealed from belief to belief. Some translations may have faith to faith, but I think we may do ourselves a disservice by not using the word belief, because I don't know, I just think that conveys the message more strongly, belief to belief. And that makes you think, well, what do I believe in? I mean, faith to faith is for sure too, but what is your faith in? For in it, the righteousness of Elohim is revealed from belief to belief. So we need to make sure that we understand his truth, that our loins are girded with his truth, or we're going to be going after another gospel and another Jesus. As it has been written, but the righteous shall live by belief. And in verse 18, it goes into Yahweh's wrath on unrighteousness. For the wrath of Elohim is revealed from heaven against all wickedness, unrighteousness of men who do what? They suppress the truth in unrighteousness. So they know the truth, but they suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which is known of Elohim is manifest among them, for Elohim has manifested it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible qualities have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, both his everlasting power and mightiness, for them to be without excuse. They will have no excuse. They will probably not even be able to utter a word, because although they knew Elohim, they did not esteem him as Elohim, nor gave thanks, but became vain in their reasonings, lie-based beliefs, became vain in their reasonings, and their undiscerning heart, or their undiscerning soul, was darkened. We know even demons know Elohim. Elohim is esteemed through obedience to his covenant confirming gospel message. He is not esteemed through lie-based beliefs, which are referred here as vain reasonings, with an undiscerning, darkened heart. And we know heart is interchangeable with soul, just as many times faith and belief, those words are interchangeable. Verse 22, claiming to be wise. They sometimes really sound wise too, don't they? Haven't we all been sucked in at some point or the other? Claiming to be wise, they became fools and changed the esteem of the incorruptible Elohim into the likeness of an image of corruptible man, and of birds, and of four-footed beasts, and of reptiles. I mean, today, many in religious worships, in various types of religion, many worship the man in the pulpit and lose sight of the Savior and what is pleasing to him. Or they might worship the music and the sound and the lights and the action. Verse 24, therefore Elohim gave them up to uncleanness in the lust of their hearts, to disrespect their bodies among themselves, who changed the truth of Elohim into the falsehood, and worshiped and served what was created rather than the Creator, who was blessed forever. See how they do it? They flip the script. They take their position front and center. They get all the accolades. They get the mega churches. They get the emotion. I just want to read that again. Therefore, Elohim gave them up to uncleanness in the lust of their hearts, to disrespect their bodies among themselves, who changed the truth of Elohim into the falsehood, and worshipped and served what was created rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Because of this, Elohim gave them over to degrading passions, for even their women exchanged natural relations for what is against nature. And likewise, the men also, having left natural relations with woman, burned in their lust for one another, men with men committing indecency and receiving back the reward which was due for their straying. I remember, I think it was the book, What the Bible Says About Healthy Living by Rex Russell. That might have been the book. But, and forgive me if it wasn't, but this is what I remember reading one time, and it makes perfect sense, because our health often depends on the condition of our gut, right? Our intestines, the biome. And what happens when man and man commit indecencies and spill their seed into the larger colon? That decreases their immune system, because that part of the body was never meant to receive such. And therefore, they receive back the reward which was due for their straying. And even as they did not think it worthwhile to possess the knowledge of Elohim, people don't even think it's worthwhile to possess the knowledge of Elohim. Elohim said, fine, okay, fine. And yeah, he gave us free will, free choice, did he not? Elohim said, okay. So he gave them over to a worthless mind to do what is improper. A worthless mind. And what's your soul made of? Mind, will, and emotion. Having been filled with all unrighteousness, whoring, wickedness, greed, evil, filled with envy, murder, fighting, deceit, evil habits, whisperers, slanderers, haters of Elohim, insolent, proud, boasters, devisers of evil, disobedient to parents, without discernment. Oh, look at the next one. Covenant breakers, unloving, unforgiving, ruthless, who though they know the righteousness of Elohim, that those who practice such deserve death, not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. Covenant breakers. Covenant breakers. And many that receive Jesus these days, now known to us as Yahushua HaMashiach, many of them don't even fully understand that they have entered into the new blood ratified covenant. And they don't even understand that by doing so, they need to learn what the covenant is, where to find the covenant, how to rightly divide his word of truth, from the book of the covenant versus the book of the law, to understand the royal Torah that James speaks of in his book. And they don't fully understand that that's their marriage ketuvah, their marriage covenant. And it's very sad to see that they've only been given the milk of the word. And don't get me wrong, Yahweh can do a lot of great things with people that are just learning on the milk of the word. I mean, we all appreciate our humble beginnings, but we are very thankful he didn't leave us where we started. And we're very thankful that he's revealed truth to us, and he's taken us from belief to belief in his truth, not just belief of anything, not just belief in lie-based beliefs, but he's lifted the veil. He's helped us see. He's helped us hear. He's helped us correct course. And he's disciplined us when he's needed to. He's needed to. So praise Yah, because that means he loves us. When he chastises us, he loves us. He doesn't do it for evil. He does it for good. And so praise Yah that the next 3 sessions we're going to be looking at is understanding lie-based beliefs. And I think where we're at right now, understanding who we are as Israel, born from above, who we are as his kingdom of priests, that has just dispelled so many lie-based beliefs we were functioning under for so long. It was just like a floodlight came on his word and came on our lives to who we are. But now, having us go through this Fragmented Soul series, it's like this other floodlight came on, and it's like, okay, are we functioning in belief obedience? Because to function in belief obedience, he can take us into that next level of what he would have us do. By functioning in belief obedience, then he can entrust us with the power, his power to work in us and through us. But he must have that belief obedience. And we need to build up our belief obedience by truly asking him to heal our broken hearts, heal our fragmented souls, because none of us are excluded. If you think you're not in the brokenhearted, fragmented soul continuum, somewhere on that continuum, you're mistaken, because we're all on that continuum. Now, we may slide from one end to the other, depending on what's happening in our life at any point in time, but we're on that continuum, and hopefully we're sliding toward that healing end of the continuum instead of the death end of that continuum. Because one moment you can be at the death end and you can make your way to that life end. And another moment you can be at that life end and you can make it all the way to the death end. Our soul, what condition is our soul in? And going through this series, going through this process, using the 5 V's, communing with Yahweh, he heals us from the inside out. He restores us. He strengthens us. And he prepares us to be vessels, not cracked cisterns, but vessels healed by the Ruach HaKodesh, by the power of the covenant-confirming gospel message that seals all those cracks so that we can hold that power that he wants to put in us and through us, and that his light can shine forth through us. But he's got to have belief obedience. belief obedience. He has to have that. And just like David, he strengthened himself. He strengthened himself. And that's what the Fragmented Soul series has helped us understand, that we can strengthen ourselves before Yahweh by communing with him, by looking at our soul, looking at our beliefs, and having him help us clean out lie-based beliefs and anything not pleasing to him. So this is what we will be doing for the next 3 sessions on lie-based beliefs.